coming. 9:37 is the time, though. Let's talk about one of the another future row, I think, coming, which will be the cases of long COVID. An estimated 380,000 cases of long COVID happening in this country, according to the latest Office for National Statistics study. Well, let's talk about this with Ondine Sherwood, who's co-founder of LongCovidSOS, the campaign to get the government to recognise the needs of those suffering from long COVID. Good morning to you, Ondine.
Morning, Julia.
Lovely to talk to you again. Now, I mean, these stats from the ONS, they are extrapolated from a survey they do in terms of like how many people will be suffering from it. They believe that 34,000 children will be suffering from it. It includes even 2-year-olds, those that young. Symptoms include fatigue, shortness of breath, but these findings are all based on a sort of survey and extrapolation, and based on self-reported symptoms, aren't they? How sure can we be that these are an accurate representation, and that this is a long-term problem as opposed to something that lasts just a few months after people have got COVID?
Well, first of all, I think we can trust the Office for National Statistics to handle their surveys in such a way that they are representative. So this is a survey of more than 313,000 people, and they're carefully chosen to make sure that they are representative of the population. So it's a very big sample. And in terms of your second question, is it a long-term problem? Well, the 380,000 you quoted at the beginning of the segment are actually people who've had it for more than a year. Yep. So there are actually 945,000, that's nearly 1 million people who have symptoms for more than 4 weeks. 835, not many less, have got symptoms for more than 12 weeks. So I think one of the things that is concerning about this data is that it's actually almost 1% of the entire UK population, 611,000 people, have long COVID that impacts their daily activities. Now that is quite.
In what way impacting daily activities? And what again, I've got bored onto my regular listeners about this. I had COVID in March 2020. My taste buds still aren't completely back. They come and go, but they're definitely not completely back. I don't know whether they will ever come back after 16, 17 months. But does that impact my daily life? Not really. Are we talking about people unable to go to work, unable to get out of bed? What are we talking about?
Well, there are people who have it. Their daily activities impact a bit, and there are people who have their daily activities impacted a lot. So if it's a bit, they may be unable to walk more than 100 metres without getting breathless. They may be unable to do any desk work for more than a couple of hours before they become exhausted. They may find it very difficult to do any manual work. The people who say their activities are impacted a lot probably can't work at all. So I think what I want to convey to you and to your listeners is that long COVID is not trivial. It's not something whereby people feel a little bit tired or a bit off colour. For many people, it is significant. It's significantly disrupting their lives. Okay. And unfortunately, I do read the comments that are posted online, particularly after the last video that you posted with our previous interview. And I think people do see this as some kind of excuse for people not to work. And I can assure you that people who are suffering like this would like nothing more than to get back to their old lives, to get back to their jobs, to be able to care for their families. It really isn't. It's not a bunch of skivers.
I know. I've seen the same comments. Obviously, I mean, my concern is that I'm not making that suggestion. I know you know I'm not, but one of my concerns is a very cynical concern that once we saw the death rate go down and hospitalisation go down, it was very clear that many people who were very pro-lockdown instantly moved on to long COVID as the justification that even if people aren't very, very sick, immediately with COVID, they could be a long-term issue, and that would justify lockdown. So I've been very cynical about this, but I've also, because there have been some reports that suggested that actually when you survey people and you don't mention COVID, actually people who haven't had COVID, you get very similar levels of people reporting similar symptoms in the same age groups, and therefore a lot of this may be more down to people have long-term symptoms after having very, very bad doses of flu or any other serious illnesses that can then go on for a long time, but also the effects of lockdown, the effects of people being trapped in their homes, the mental health impact of that, the physical health impact of that has also had a long-term effect, and the stress of the last couple of years, and that actually some of these reported they're very real, but they may not be due to COVID. That is where I think a lot of people are quite cynical.
Yes, people may suspect that, but if you look at the way the ONS carry out their surveys, they can have a control group of people who never had COVID, and they don't get these numbers in those people.
Oh, no, there was a study. There was a study that actually did see similar levels in people who hadn't had COVID. That was the issue.
I haven't. Perhaps you could
not an ONS study, though. Yeah.
Yeah, you could punish that study because I haven't seen it, and I think it's undeniable. Of course, I wouldn't argue that it's been stressful being locked down, but we haven't been locked down for quite some time. We are not in lockdown. We were not in lockdown before July the 19th, nor were we in lockdown before the step 3 of easing of restrictions. We were not in lockdown.
Well, actually, Ondine, we were, and for many people they were. They were forced to work from home, and for long periods of time, people were not able to go to work and open their businesses. So that has a massively stressful effect on people.
It may be stressful, but I will go back to the fact that many of these studies, including the ONS, use control groups, and there is a significantly different number of people who've had COVID who are experiencing these symptoms. Right. So I'm afraid the other thing is, of course, long COVID has been going on since the beginning of the pandemic. It's just not been talked about. We've been campaigning since June of last year, and we've known that people have been sick long term from the very beginning. They weren't getting better. And so, yes, it may now be in the news. And I'm not surprised, really, because we have ignored long COVID for most of the pandemic because all the attention has been on what was going on in the hospitals.
Yeah. I have to say, I follow an awful lot of different media. It's very much not been ignored. A lot of the media I've seen. We'll have to leave it there. We're over time. But Ondine, Sherwood, I really appreciate you talking to us and putting that case. And again, I've got no doubt at all there are definitely 100% people who are suffering from it. I do have some question marks about, again, self-reported symptoms to the ONS. They're still nevertheless self-reported and not necessarily verified by a medical practitioner. Ondine Sherwood, co-founder of LongCovidSOS. I mean, certainly this is something that needs to be